Hi YouTube, welcome back to Through Seasonal Lens, the video journal of Brilliant Pit Seasonal Wellness. My name is Liz. I am a studying herbalist, astrology podcaster, content producer, and marketer. I do kind of a lot of things, and this channel is meant to talk through seasonal wellness practices in hopes that it will align you better to the season at hand. What can be done with ease? What is meant to be done during this time of year that maybe we have lost our connection with through just the hustle culture of life, or just plain everything else that goes on in our lives. So I hope that this channel and these videos give you some insight into how you can better connect with each season. I tend to look at the seasons as almost micro seasons. So I tend to infuse my knowledge in astrology with my knowledge of seasonality, and therefore I make videos every month that coincide with the astrological symbolism, but as well as the microcosm, micro energy of the month. So with that being said, I want to get into some of the themes that Scorpio as the astrology season holds. And with that, I guess I will define the dates. So Scorpio season is from October 22nd, or it's October 23rd to around November 22nd, November 23rd as well. So this obviously is a full month, and the rulership of Scorpio is Pluto, as well as the ancient as an ancient astrology is ruled by Mars. So Pluto and Mars rule Scorpio. It is a fixed water sign, meaning it is in the middle, the very middle of the season. So we are in the very middle of autumn. Therefore, it is fixed. It has tendencies that like to maintain rather than innovate and start. And water basically means that it is very intact with its intuition. It has the ability to flow through things intuitively, has a constitution that is more movable and flexible, but also very emotionally in tune. Some of the themes that you may notice this month definitely revolve around the shedding of identity, death, transformation, regeneration, and transmutation. So what do all of these things have in common? Well, the main thing that they all have in common is changing from one thing to another, or having basically two identities at play here. And this just speaks to the rulership of Mars, as well as the tendencies of Pluto. So when I say the rulership of Mars, Mars rules our ego, our identity, and the way that we will, and our strength, and just the way that we go about life that is more in tune with our action. While Pluto's constitution has very much to do with the digging up of things, and in the process turning something into something else that pretty much it could have never imagined without going through the process. So it's very similar to things like I'm like hearing people say, I'm so happy that happened to me, as much as it was maybe not ideal, because it allowed me to see things in this way, which I will never take for granted again, or things that are very similar in that energy. Pluto tends to be very long in terms of how you can see the effects of Pluto. So we do focus a lot on Mars here in Scorpio season because it's a faster moving planet, and it's a little bit more relatable to our personal lives, while Pluto is definitely more of a generational planet. It actually takes 248 years to circle around the zodiac. So, fun fact, our country actually just went through our very first Pluto return. So from the Declaration of Independence to about, I think, a year ago, was the very first time that Pluto came back around to the place it was. So with all that said, we are going to see in every Scorpio season the themes of shedding, death, transmutation, transformation, but obviously, like I said, we're dealing with a quicker moving planet that has to do with identity, and a slower moving planet that has to do with the digging up of things and not being able to see it until later. So I feel like a good thing to note here is Scorpio season is one of those times where you don't really get the full idea or the lesson until it's all wrapped up, and until maybe Sagittarius season, when you can actually look back with new wisdom found and see things for what they have become. Another theme in Scorpio season is control, the passion that comes with control, introspection, and taking things into a deeper journey. There is a constant reemerging from ego death that happens with Scorpio, not particularly in Scorpio season, but with all of this control, passion, and introspection. I'm really speaking to the water element of Scorpio. As much as it is a fixed sign, that does not mean that the water doesn't flow or that the water has a different meaning. It still means that you can go really deep, but it isn't in a more controlled manner, and it is a little bit more penetrating and intense and maybe hyper-focused in the moment, more solidified versus able to kind of be flexible in a situation. So with that, you might also wonder what this reemerging or this refoundation of new foundations of ego death, what that really means. And with basically Mars, we are always establishing our identity with every action we take. So when we are paired with Pluto, there is almost a re-emerging or a redefining of that ego. And there's also ego death, as we want to make it different. We want a different identity. And almost with this identity, we have to remember that it's something that with Pluto, you're not really going back, and nothing is ever going to be the same. So it's making something totally new out of it. Action, defense, maintaining strength are also big themes here. As you can probably tell with what I've been saying, that's all Mars, that's all as well as Pluto. So with the last thing I'll say in terms of themes with Scorpio season is there are, as you can probably feel it, there's definitely heightened energy this time of year. And there's obviously a lot of ways that people interpret that. There's some people that believe in magic and occultism and rituals, healing rituals that can be just more accessible this time of year. And that to me can somewhat be confusing, because I'm always like, well, why now? And there is just a lot to be said about nature during this time of year. This is the most, accessible way for me to explain why these themes come up during this year of magic and occultism. And it's mainly because we look outside, we see these beautiful, vibrant colors, and we're also noticing that they're all dying, right? Why does everything get so beautiful right before it dies? Or why is it at its utmost expression of beauty? There's something about the expression of beauty, which, in my opinion, it coincides with the opposite of Scorpio, which is Taurus, which rules flowers and beautiful things. Everything that invokes the senses is Taurus. So when you think about it with Scorpio, it's very much this saying goodbye to what we knew. And that also speaks to the transformation that's at play here with Pluto, and how we're not really able to see the other side of this, meaning we're not able to see the other side of winter yet, but we know that it's there, and we know that we're not going to be the same as we are now as we are going to be in springtime. There's going to be some form of change. There's going to be some form of re-identity, redefining who we are. We all know that. We all innately know that this time of year. And I think that's why there are heightened energy levels there's themes of death, and there's even holidays created around this idea of death and transformation, and people saying that the veil is thin this time of year. I'm not sure about all of that, and I tend to believe that there are spiritual phenomena in this world that it is kind of unexplained, and there's not really reasoning behind it. But that is not to say that it's not real, and that it is not a theme during this time of year. So we are going to get into the 3 lifestyle tips that I came up with for today. And the first one is to practice your ability to let go of control. So control is huge when considering Scorpio placement, Scorpio season. I don't know about you, but I have been feeling definitely the urge to control, and I don't know if that resonates with people on a level of just kind of innate unconscious effort, but I do feel like this time can bring a heightened level of energy in terms of anxiety, but I think that with the heightened level of anxiety that we feel going into winter, it's going to be dark, it's going to be long, and we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. These heightened realizations can absolutely cause us to want more control over what is happening. So utilizing these levels of energy, the best way to do that, instead of getting super anxious and feeling like you can't control, is to set intention. So setting intention through rituals means basically you can engage in these practices of either candle magic or written word, meditation, all of it, whichever one speaks best for you and how you kind of feel the most aligned in terms of setting intention. That is definitely encouraged right now, but the most important part of it is to let it go afterwards. The whole practice and the whole lesson that this season is really trying to give to us is the lesson of letting go. And as much as it can be penetrating and passionate and really wants to dig deep and hold on, Pluto, the rulership of Pluto, is all about letting go in order to transform into something totally new and something with absolute total new meaning. And as I was just saying, Mars and Pluto are intense planets. They shake up our foundations, and they shake up our will and what we know of our will. So it is best to just learn the lesson than to control the outcomes. So my second lifestyle tip is to maintain strength through diet, rituals, and habits. Why do I say maintain strength? Because maintenance and strength are both coming from not only the Mars, ancient rulership of Scorpio, but the maintenance is the fixed constitution, the fixed modality of Scorpio. Scorpio wants to build off of what is already existing, but also wants to just maintain, and not, it's in the center of autumn. So when we say fixed, we're really just talking about how it's in the middle and how there's not really any changeable elements. So it wants to kind of stay at its own status and work with what it has around it. So as we head into winter, set in place healthy regenerative practices. So foods that have adaptogenic properties is really, this is just kind of a side tip, is really supported right now. Specifically, if you have access to herbal tinctures that have adaptogenic properties. So this is mushrooms, tulsi, things like that are really supported right now, because what adaptogenic herbs do is they allow your body to adapt to stress. And like I said, the energy is high. There's heightened levels of energy. And sometimes people feel out of control in this time, and it is just a good thing to really maintain and keep your nervous system at bay, not too out of balance. So that is foods with those properties, as well as herbs, exercise, meditation, huge right now. All of these things should maintain your well-being on an emotional level. Why do I say emotional level? Because of water. We are in a water sign season. The only other water signs are Cancer and Pisces. And with Scorpio, since it is the fixed water sign, there's not much movable energy around it, versus in Cancer season, it's cardinal, it wants to innovate. With Pisces, it's immutable, it wants to change, and it wants to be flexible and adapt. With Scorpio, it's a bit different, and there's a bit more of a harsh, it almost, since it can't go anywhere else, it almost wants to go inward, and it wants to like penetrate the ego, and it wants to really dive deep. I know that sounds so cliche, but it really wants to go deep in the self and maintain that level of health and well-being. This is basically in counterbalance to what Scorpio represents, which Scorpio represents wanting to go deep for reasons maybe not so positively, but for reasons that it wants to, it innately wants to. So in order to use this for good, which is what we focus on here, the best way to do that is to focus on health and exercise, meditation, how those things can be useful to you right now. My last and final lifestyle tip is to set intentions for how you hope to transform and regenerate this winter. So this goes hand in hand with just my last business tip for my Seasons and Sessions members. But this is really speaking to the heightened level of energy that we feel during this time. We want to engage in what is easily accessible right now, which is ritualistic practices, but we want to use it for good. So to set these intentions means to either do candle magic, write petitions, or do anything in terms of meditation that allows you to set a solid intention for the winter and how you want to regenerate for the spring and how you want to actually come off as in the spring. Because all of that can be set right now as the growth is dying, the nature is dying, everything looks so beautiful, but yet it is also going inward, it's going back down to the earth. So with that, with everything going back down, set the intention as the ground will then again rise again, and everything will flourish once again with this new intention that was set long ago, but the action was taken for it to be reality. So these are all of my tips for Scorpio season. I hope that this helped you out a lot, and I'm excited for Scorpio season. It is definitely one of my favorite times of year. I'm a Scorpio rising, like I said, so I hope you enjoy the rest of this season. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions. I would be happy to elaborate on anything here. So best of luck, and I will see you next month.